Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. This week's tip has to do with being an expert. Now, a lot of you guys think that I am an expert when it comes to currency, and I am not. Okay, in order to claim the title of an expert, the technical definition is a person who has over 10,000 hours of experience. Now, 10,000 hours of experience, if you were to break that down into a 40-hour work week, for instance, you would be talking someone who has been doing something 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week for well over 5 years. That would be considered having 10,000 hours of experience. That would put you in the expert category. I do not spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week doing this. I haven't. So I am nowhere near an expert. However, there are people that you would assume are experts in stuff that also aren't. I was at one of my local coin stores, the LCS, and obviously they specialize in coins. And because I collect currency, I just assume that when they talk about coins and they are an expert, that when they talk about currency, they are experts. And, well, I'm learning that coin experts are not necessarily currency experts. So double check all of your facts. It's great to ask questions, but when you get an answer, you may scratch your head a little bit because they may not necessarily be an expert on currency. My dilemma was it was fairly simple, and it was a matter of the dealer wanting to seem that he knew more than me. And as he should know more than me. He makes his living doing that. This is my hobby. What I'm getting at is this. Let me push these out of the way. I went there and I put my book down and I started looking through some stuff. And he looked at my book and he says, "Oh, I've got that book. Mine's blue." I said, "Okay." I said, "This one's the 21st edition." Right there, 21st edition. He says, "Yeah, I got the blue one. They're up to the 24th edition right now. That's the one that I've got. They come out with a new book every year. So, yeah, yours, because I had made the comment, mine's starting to fall apart. I mean, I literally have pages that are sliding out of this thing here. So I made the comment that my book was falling apart and I'm about due for a new one." He says, "Well, yeah, you've got the 21st edition. There's the 24th edition. Like I said, mine's blue." He didn't go get his. He didn't show me his. He just said he's got the 24th edition and it was blue. So I thought to myself, well, I need a new book. So when I got home, I went to eBay. I went to Amazon. Remember, Amazon started off as a bookstore. So if you want a book, Amazon should have the book. And I spent a good hour and a half hunting through eBay listings, hunting through Amazon listings, hunting through everything that I could find. And it turns out that there is a blue book. And that blue book is the 20th edition, whereas mine is the 21st edition. And they didn't put out a new book every year. In fact, my book is 2017 as far as the copyright goes, and there hasn't been a new one yet. When I looked up the 20th edition, I was referred to the new edition that's out, showing the book that I currently have. So, yeah, is it a big deal? Not in the grand scheme of things, but because this particular LCS owner wanted to sound like an expert and wanted to sound like he had the latest and greatest stuff, he wasted an hour and a half of my time doing eBay searches and Amazon searches for something that doesn't exist just on his misinformation. So, don't assume anyone is an expert. Make sure to do your own homework. All right, guys, that's my hint for this week. Let's take a look at what I found. Starting this week out, found Where's George? Been good for me lately. Finding a couple Where's George. Found two the previous week. Found this one here. This one, this is a stripper note. Yep, you can see it's covered in baby oil. Yep, definitely a stripper note. Don't want to think about where that's been. It's odd finding a stripper note in this day and age because I didn't know the strip clubs were open. This one was an interesting one. Check out that number, 110-220-33. It's not a radar. It's not a repeater, it's not an alternator, it's not a trinary. It's 4 pairs if I cringe, because there are 4 different digits and only 2 of each. But I only do that if it was 00112233. This one is just interesting because of the way that it's laid out like that. I don't know if it would be called anything, but like I've said in the past, if you can look at a note and not figure out why it's cool, it's probably not cool. This I can look at and go, well, that's kind of cool. So since my first instinct is to hold on to this, I'm going to keep this one. I think that's an interesting find. Did find some trinaries. This is 2 6s and 9s. 3s, 5s, and 6s here. This one is 1s, 3s, and 5s. What do we got? Quads. This is quad 9s, 9999. 4 9s on there. And that was the only quads. The rest are stars. Found quite a few stars. Starting with a couple zeros, so I've got some hope there. 2017. And we get to the 2013s. Some of these are okay. This one's in a little rough shape, but starts with a couple zeros, so maybe. We'll see. 2013. Another rough 2013. That one's, oh, this one's pretty beat as well. And this is 2009. Now, I tend to go through all my stars at once. I've already done a video on that. I'll do the next one as soon as I get more stars to do. But I can run through about 150 or 200 stars in about 20 minutes rather than sitting there typing in every single number. You can just go to the page and type out print runs, and they all come out rather than having to actually list each individual number. This is an older note. This is 1999. Another 99, fairly good shape. Another 99. This one's a little rougher. And then this is a 95, pretty heavy crease down the middle. Another 1995 here. 1995 with some ink on it, so probably going to go back. 1985, really crisp 1985. I hope I don't have this one, because I'd really like to be putting that. That's probably an upgrade. And another crisp note, this one is a 1981. So those were my finds from this week's search. What did I pull out from my box? Well, I've got a really interesting note. This is from the Civil War. During the Civil War, there was a run on change. You couldn't get copper, you couldn't get silver, and the federal government went to the post office and said, hey, can you help us out? And the post office printed up what was called postal currency. That was the first issue of the stuff, and then when they did the second and third issues, fourth issue, fifth issue, it was then known as fractional currency. They did all kinds of denominations from as little as 3 cents to as much as 50 cents, and you can see this one here is a 50-cent note, and you may recognize that guy. If I was to ask the question, who was the president during the Civil War, you would say Abraham Lincoln, of course. So how is it that Abraham Lincoln is on a note that says right there, Act of March 1863? Well, turns out that this note was not made in 1863. This is from the 4th series. The 4th series of fractional currency came out in 1869, which is after Lincoln's assassination, which means what I'm holding in my hand is the first piece of currency that pictured Abraham Lincoln. An 1869 50-cent fractional currency featuring Abraham Lincoln. This is from the 4th series. This is one of the highest demand notes to get. They didn't print a whole bunch of them, and they ended up making a couple other designs for the 4th issue 50 cent as well. I believe this is also the one that has Stanton, who was Lincoln's Secretary of War. Now, another thing that makes these interesting is, if that's not enough, the first piece of currency featuring Lincoln. Starting with the 4th series of fractional currency, you can see this red outline here. It's the first time that the Federal Reserve actually put their seal on there. So that red circle is a Federal Reserve stamp on there. On the first 3 series of fractional currency, there was no stamp. So it's at this point that fractional currency came to be. Once it has the Treasury stamp like that on there, that would make it official currency. Whereas the other stuff was essentially glorified postage stamps. Take a quick peek at the back of this one. You can see the colors are very deep on this, still in really good shape. It does have a little bit of a tear right here, but still, when it comes to fractional notes, this is the one to have, without a doubt. The very first time you're ever going to see Lincoln on currency is right here in my hand. Now let's take a peek at the book and see what it has to say. Let's see. Yep. There it is right there. Large seal watermark paper with pink silk fibers. In very good condition, $200. You're talking $225 in fine, $300 in very fine, and gem uncirculated, you're talking $2,250 for one of these. Yeah, normally your fractionals aren't $200 notes. So to come across this particular one, this is the one you want. And of course, below it, you can see the 50 cent featuring Edwin M. Stanton, the Secretary of War under President Lincoln. And for comparison, that one starts out at $75. I've shown that note before. But yeah, the 50 cent featuring Lincoln, that is the one to get. I'm just going to flip back a couple pages here, showing that right there, fourth issue. July 14th, 1869 to February 16th, 1875. Notes of this issue consist of the 10, 15, 25, and 50 cent denominations, each of a different design. With this issue, the Treasury seal appeals for the first time on fractional currency. It's also the only series that has a 15 cent note, which I will save for another day. So, that's what I've got for you guys this week. An 1869 50 cent fractional currency featuring Abraham Lincoln. The very first time Lincoln was on a note, and the very first time that the Treasury seal was on fractional currency. Guys, if you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love answering all your comments. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next week.